And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook pages. I'm Amber Salambier of Knots Untied Within, and I'm a certified emotion code and body code practitioner.
And hello, I'm Holly Pitas. I am a certified emotion code practitioner, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about neck and shoulder pain. So if you've been spending a lot of time on your computer and bent over your laptop, tonight is the night to volunteer and let us know if we can help you. I think we have it in our comments. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just going to show you that in order to volunteer, we would like you to just say yes. Give us an identification of where your discomfort is, if it's back of your neck or your shoulders or what have you, and a severity level of 1 to 10. We like to know where the pain starts so that as it dissipates, we have a succession of our progress.
Absolutely. So let us know if it's in your neck or in your left or right shoulder. And as Holly said, you know, how much does that pain hurt? Like, are you feeling it as a 1 and it's, you know, just a little crick, or are you feeling it like a 10 and you can barely move your neck? So we are emotion code practitioners, and we studied under Dr. Bradley Nelson doing the emotion code. And what the emotion code is, it's a form of energy healing that, you know, he discovered as a holistic chiropractor, that a lot of his clients were storing their emotional energy within the body, causing constant reoccurring pain. And when he went in and determined by releasing those emotions, what was stored in there, the pain was actually reduced, or, you know, in a lot of cases eliminated. So it's quite impressive that, you know, we have learned one of the world's most fastest and effective energy healing systems out there that allow us to identify those things that are sitting in your elbow and in your neck and shoulders that help us release that.
Yes, and I am still working with my tablet trying to find us live on getfeelingbetter.com. So I have refreshed a couple of times. So we may or may not be live on my page, but otherwise it can be added later. And so we have, of course, as we go through the 7 keys of what's happening. And I was not listening to how far you got, Amber, because I was looking for my thing. Did you start with the 7 keys yet?
Okay, I haven't. I talked about the emotion code and what it is, and
okay.
That's as far as I've gotten. First off, I want to say hi to everyone that's watching. So if you are watching, you know, let us know where you're watching from. Where in the world do you live? You know, because as practitioners, we can work with anywhere all around the world. I've got clients that I've worked in India, in Australia, the UK, the US, here in Canada, where I'm from. So, I mean, it's really awesome that I can be anywhere in the world and still be able to reach my clients and effectively help them. And Holly can as well.
Yes, and I found us, so yay. I think there's just part of that delay before it actually gets onto my page. So, all right, so thank you for your patience while I'm trying to figure out the technical end of this. So yeah, so anyway, we have 7 keys that we work with for the emotion code. And one of the first ones is that we have to be hydrated. It's really important because we're working with the energy system. We really need to make sure that we've got enough fluid in us, because that is what helps keep our energy flowing and helps us make a connection together. The other part we're working on is when you, as I mentioned earlier on, when you volunteer, we need to have your permission. And so we can't just randomly do an emotion code session on anybody. We need to have your agreement and your willingness to participate in order to have a successful session. So if you are an adult, you can volunteer for yourself. If you are a parent or legal guardian of someone that's under 18, you have the ability to volunteer for them. If you are a grandma and you want to volunteer your grandchildren, you can't do that unless you are the legal guardian.
No, and permission is very important, because I wouldn't walk into your house and just, open the door. I mean, maybe my in-laws or something like that, somewhere that I have permission to, but I wouldn't go to Holly's house and just walk right in, right? Like I would need her permission. Just like our energy fields are sacred. I know I mean, I'm guilty of not thinking about them very often, but they are a sacred part of us and they are connected to us. So whatever happens to our energy fields can happen to our physical bodies as well, even though we can't see them or acknowledge them. So permission is very important, because it's unethical for us to do any work on somebody without permission.
Exactly. And then what we do, we want to know what the severity level is from 1 to 10. We need to identify whatever it is we're going to be working on. And tonight it's the neck and shoulder pain. And then once that is identified, Amber and I both use the chart that was developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson. It's called the emotion code chart. And it has it's divided into 2 columns and 6 rows. And each row has about 5 different emotions that are identified. And through our asking questions and using something called kinesthetic muscle testing, we can ask these yes and no questions and identify where the actual trapped emotion is. And then we use a magnet to release the emotion. And so that's similar to having a credit card that you've got a bunch of information stored on that credit card. And if you swipe a magnet over it, you actually erase all of that. And so the premise that the emotion code works on is that because we are energy systems and the magnet has the ability to balance or nullify the system, once we bring that negative trapped emotion up, it's identified and we're saying, yes, that's the one we want to target. Then what we do is we use the governing meridian from the acupuncture system, and we actually swipe the magnet over our head. So it looks a little bit different, but this is what we do. And that is a way to erase the emotion. And then we double check. We want to make sure, that's why we ask the severity. If it was a level 10, as the process develops, we want to be able to identify how it releases. So some people go immediately from a 10 to a 0, some go from a 10 to a 9. And then there's also the processing part. Amber, do you want to talk about that for how people might feel during the session?
Absolutely. So processing looks different for everyone. Everyone is going to process. And what processing means is just releasing the emotions. So for some people, they may not feel anything at all. Some might get triggered by these. So if we release, an emotion that came up a long time ago, you could re-feel those emotions. So over the next couple of days, it's about 2 to 3 days, just be mindful that you could feel the emotions come back up out of the blue as they're processing. Some people feel more pain. So if we are working on pain like we are today, keep in mind that over the next 2 to 3 days, the pain might get worse. Now it's only a small percentage that do, but the pain might go, you were at a 10, we got you down to a 6, for example. So now you're at a 6. Tomorrow the pain might go up to a 9. And it's okay, because in about 3 to 4 days, that pain will drop down again. I've got lots of clients that have gone through, they're feeling a lot better than, before I worked on them. And then, the next day or so, they're messaging me going, oh my gosh, I feel worse. And I say, well, okay, if it's still the same pain, monitor it, make sure that it's okay. Obviously go see a physician if there's something wrong, but chances are it's inflammation that is being released as these emotions come up and they get released, and everything is shifting back. So, if your shoulder is hurting and it's always kind of been a little shifted off, it's got to move back into place of how it's supposed to be. And sometimes that can be a little painful. Again, it's just a small percentage, but we must let everyone know that some of these things can happen. You could feel more tired. You could feel, physically sick as these things come up. I've spent, a couple hours in bed with a headache the one day, after releasing way too many emotions than I probably should have, and kind of overdid it. But it's just a reminder that I need to take a step back and just to allow my body to process.
Yeah. So now that you've been warned that there could be some slowness to the release, there's also a lot of people who have been able to release it right away, that they feel lighter, they feel kind of giddy, they start giggling, maybe they feel tingly, maybe they had felt dragged down before, and now that they've had the session, they're full of energy. So and each session that you have can have a little bit different processing result. I know sometimes everybody talks about diets all the time. And so when you start giving up packaged foods or a lot of sugar, or you give up caffeine or sodas, those first couple of days, you're feeling a withdrawal of whatever that substance was. And so you might get a headache from not having the caffeine level that you had before, the sugar level. But then all of a sudden you get that toxic stuff out of your body and you feel much better. So it's the same as you're releasing these toxic, negative, trapped emotions. So, and I guess one of the things too, as you're releasing the emotions, and we say we're asking these questions, this is not like a standard therapy. We're not going to ask you to reveal whatever that particular event was that may have trapped an emotion. You might not even know what it was. Sometimes that you've had some touch points in your life of significant events, but there can also be minor events that you don't even recall, but for some reason, a negative trapped emotion got stuck. And sometimes it was your own experience of the event. Sometimes it was just your being around the people. Maybe there was an argument that you saw, or even just a really scary scene in a movie and it stuck with you. And so the interesting thing is about the questions that we ask, they're just simply yes or no. And so we will ask things like, is there a negative trapped emotion that's contributing to the discomfort that you're feeling in your neck? And if the answer is yes, then we wind up using this chart. We continue to ask questions to whittle down for which of the emotions or connection of group of emotions is what is contributing. So it's really an interesting process, and it's been very beneficial for a lot of people. So it's
absolutely. I'm going to say a shout out to some people. So we've got Pam from North Carolina, USA watching. So hi, Pam. Nikki French is watching. Nikki asks, how does one volunteer? To volunteer, you just put in the comments, your name. If it's different than the one that's showing up on Facebook, then, give us what it is that you go by. We need permission. We need the location of where the pain is, and a severity level, so that we can gauge, you started off at a 10, and by the time that we're, done working in 5 minutes, where do you sit on that gauge? Our goal is to reduce it. And for your subconscious to say that on this level, because everything is done in layers, right? It's like an onion. So on this layer, we have gotten you down to 0 of clearing whatever we could. Now your conscious mind might say, well, you only got me down to an 8 or, a 5 or something, but your subconscious, which is, where the vast majority of your information is stored, we want to make sure that we've cleared everything on that layer. And healing is done in layers. Like it really truly is. So we get you down to, a 5, I know on my site, if you look above, it says book now. I offer a consultation with people to really get down deep as to what is going on with the ailments that you're facing, and Holly does as well on her page to book an appointment. And we go deeper and we start looking at what are all the things that are going on in your life that you're not happy with. Are they limiting beliefs? Are they pain? Are they blockages? Maybe you're struggling to find a partner or an abundance, or your business is struggling. These are all the things that we can help with, because they're all emotional based. I really like working with emotional eating, because I have struggled with emotional eating for most of my life. So I really like working with people to clear your food cravings. You're out, especially when we're all home a lot of the time. I mean, most people are going back to work, but your hand is in that cupboard mindlessly, grabbing the cookies or the chips or the ice cream or whatever it is. That's all emotions. And so by clearing those emotions, we can actually, eliminate those food items so that you don't have to look at them anymore. They're still there. They're always going to be there, but you don't have that craving to them anymore because there's no emotional attachment to them. So, the constant emotional eating or the sneaking of food or any of the bad habits that I've certainly been guilty of, we can clear them. But I know myself and Holly have a menu list that of all the things that we've worked on and we've had success on and stuff like that. So you've got different feelings here and stuff, of all the different areas. If you struggle to breathe, we clear the lungs and see what's going on with the lungs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so as Amber mentioned before, this is not an exchange or a substitute for professional medical care. So this is not medical care, but there's, I think, enough realization just in the verbiage that we use. You can say, well, my work gives me a headache, or I'm so mad, I'm gonna blow up someday, or I can feel my blood boiling, things like that. And those are all emotion based. And so, you can say that enough to yourself and you can actually build up some problems. And a lot of times before it really has to be handled by a physician, if you can relieve some of the stress and some of the complications of this buildup in your system, a lot of times you can just start feeling better and hopefully avoid having more problems down the road. So Amber, before when you were mentioning the emotional eating, it's like, I think everybody, you just emotionally eat. And sometimes you do it a little bit, sometimes you do it a lot. Sometimes it's just, 1 or 2 little candy bars, and sometimes it's a whole bag. And it's just how we vent and how we look for an escape. And it's pretty much because we don't really know what else to do for releasing some of these emotions. Because a lot of times we don't even know what the emotion is that's causing it. So, and if you come to our websites, so mine is getfeelingbetter.com, and Amber is using the Knots Untied Within on Facebook right now, but that's where the menu is accessible. And by going through it, there are things that you may see that you have just been accepting about yourself and not really considering them a problem just because it's been such a habit. And by having an option for reducing whatever this habit is, it's really a wonderful way to do it. I actually run a special program on stop smoking. And so if you are interested in that, you can connect with me through my website, or just private message me, and I can give you more information about that. And I think it's just a really great system. Something else that I do too, I love working with animals, and I've had a bazillion dogs at this point, it seems. This is a picture of Abby, and Abby was a very temperamental beagle. This is her when she was just about a year old. So this would have been like Christmas of 2003. And for anybody that's ever lived with a beagle, you know that they are a very headstrong little animal, and usually cute as can be, and tons of fun. They're known as the merry beagle because they're always wagging their tail. And I do wish I had the benefit of the knowledge of the emotion code at the time that I had Abby, because as I said, she's a little temperamental. And so I think that turned out actually that she wound up having pain in her knees. Later in her life, she'd had a surgery, and when they had done this leg surgery, they discovered that she had some pain in her knees. And so had I been able to access the emotion code, I think I could have been able to relieve some of her pain. So it's a great product for working with animals because they absorb our emotions, they mirror our emotions, they are emotional anyway. And so if we can help them especially when they can't speak, that's one of the other great things about the emotion code chart and accessing the subconscious is that you can ask these direct yes or no questions and the answer is given through the muscles. So I guess actually, Amber, do you want to just demonstrate the muscle test system that you use?
Absolutely. So, once I get permission from a client, I go in and I use the finger in the hole method. I'm not actually sure what the name of this is, but this is what I call it. So this is yes, because it's a firm. I'm not holding very, very tightly. It's, a butterfly wing or a piece of rice. So it's very light. And your body naturally, when things aren't congruent, your muscles actually, they weaken. And I mean, I tried this on my husband the other day. Like if you take your tongue and you move your tongue and your mouth back and forth and you say, my name is Amber, it's going to move. But when you say, my name is Holly, my tongue will actually start getting heavier. And it's we can all try it. You can try it at home, while you're watching this is, just keep trying it, wiggle your tongue in your mouth a few times. And, and it's a way of getting in touch with our body because our body naturally, when things are in truth and congruent to who you are and what you believe, it's going to be a yes. You can think about cute puppies and babies and everything that makes you warm and unconditional love and all of those feelings, you're going to get a yes. And when you think of, war and negative things and, you're going to get a no, and your body naturally weakens so that, I can't stop this because my body is naturally going, no, this isn't what I want. Mm-hmm. So, through muscle testing, we can test pretty much anything. You can pretty much ask any question. I was testing myself this morning as to whether or not I should start intermittent fasting and what time frame should my body be eating that, right? And so I'm going through and, or I go to the grocery store and I'm like, is this meat good? Is that meat not good? And people look at me weird all the time. And my poor family, because they're like, we don't know her. But, your body knows and we're all connected and, the energy and the information is out there. I just have to access it, right? And so that's what we do is we access that information and we get answers and we can move forward. We've got some more ladies watching. We've got Lauren. So hi, Lauren. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm going to say hi to my kids because I know that they're watching. So hi, Joshua. Hi, Charlie. They watch every week, so they always get upset when I don't shout out to them. But what is your favorite part about the emotion code, Holly?
It's just such an amazing technique. So we've studied it. When I first heard about it, I thought that sounded interesting. I thought it sounded interesting for someone else to do. I wound up having a session with a certified emotion code practitioner, and I just thought it was amazing. And I thought this is a fantastic thing to be able to learn and to help people. And I think that it just makes sense that we know that we trap emotions, and we know that as we go through life, sometimes those we just build on different things that have happened in our life. And so I think a heart wall is another thing that we haven't really talked about, but that's, again, just a very obvious thing. And it's really, when you think about on your own, how do you get rid of it? And you have no idea. But through the emotion code system, there's a way to release the heart wall. And the heart wall is something that is built up. It's like a self-protective system that if we've had our feelings hurt from maybe rejection, and that could be rejection of a romantic interest of ours, or, you weren't picked for the sports team in class when you were in second or third grade, and there, everybody had to pick their team and you were standing for last, you feel really rejected and heartbroken. And, as we go through our life and we have pets that pass away or people that pass away, we just wind up saying, I don't want to feel that kind of pain again. And so I'm going to close up my heart and build a wall around it. And I'm not going to let that happen again. So what happens though with that is, we get kind of hardened. We might miss out on other relationships in our life. So just because we weren't picked for the team when we were in grade school doesn't mean that we're not going to be a really successful team member now in our work, and we should be willing to put ourselves out there. So by having an emotion code session that's directed at the heart wall, it just opens up your doors and your life so much, in such an incredible way that it's really beneficial. And it's one of those things that you just don't really understand it until you experience it. And it's a wonderful thing. So doing, for us tonight with our Monday night live sessions, we can do something that's sort of quick. So, if you got a little kink in your neck, well, that can be relieved. But doing some of these deeper dives, especially if you've had a lot of difficulty in your life that you've been holding on to things for a long time. Sometimes it's not just that one event that caused that discomfort.
Exactly. I mean, I know I'm a big skeptical. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm a big skeptic. And, I met a practitioner. She was going through a really rough time, and I, met her online, and, through helping her out, she offered to give me an emotion code session. And I went, I'm not sure what that is. Okay. I'll buy into this. And she worked on me, and it was the most powerful thing I think I've ever been through. I have a lot of I had a lot of hip pain because of trauma that I had been through. And she not only released a lot of that pain, but identified what emotions that had come up during that session. And she released my heart wall. And I was like, I don't know what that is. It was too much for me to kind of my conscious mind to comprehend. And I went, okay, let's do that. And she's like, lots of emotions came up from my heart walls. I had different heart walls around my heart and hidden ones and stuff like that. And it wasn't until a couple of days later that everything opened up. And I mean, like Holly said, I was, gone through a lot of trauma in my life, that I was very blocked off from the world. And I didn't realize, because this is your normal, right? How blocked off I was from the world. You're just like, this is just who I am. I'm just, this. And I came downstairs and my husband's like, there's something different about you. And I'm like, no, there's not. And he's like, there's something different. And I'm like, but I love you. And he's like, there's something wrong with you. And I went, no, I'm actually feeling feelings like they're coming up, and joy and happiness. And, I wasn't so shaded anymore. And I didn't realize how much I had blocked off the world until after my heart wall was cleared. And I'm like, wow, this is what it feels like to be joy, to be happy, because I wasn't so, blocked. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was all in after that, and I got my emotion code certification, and then I went through the body code certification, which is one step further in identifying 6 imbalances that you could have. So, let's say we worked on your shoulder today. I would go deeper with the body code. So it could be, you could have some toxins, you know, maybe you're really stressed out and there's a lot of stress hormones. Well, you could have a lot of stress hormones in that area that haven't been cleared throughout its normal processing. And that's what's causing your shoulder pain, or, you know, circuitry or misalignments, or, you know, energies like emotional or other sort of entities and stuff that we go through. And it's really quite going down a rabbit hole, and it's quite like being a detective, because we get to, you know, you're like, oh, you know, your shoulder hurt, well, maybe you hurt it, you know. Well, no, it's digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And what I really like is, you know, my clients know, you know, I don't have to bring it up to them and make them relive stuff. I just have to say something and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I did do this, you know, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or something like that. And we don't think that that stuff is still lodged in our body, when in fact it truly is. So we go in and you know, we clear it out. We do a little digging and investigating and detective work, and, you know, are able to clear out the emotions and all the stuff that is going on within the body. And it is truly magical.
It is. And I think, you know, when you're talking about having the emotion code session, you know, our subconscious remembers everything, every single thing that's ever happened to us. And it's sort of like our computer files, that there's, you know, the computer programs are continually running. Then it doesn't really matter what screen or what window we're in, there's stuff running in the background all the time that we don't see. And so what happens is that if you get some bugs in some of your files or systems, they're going to be running improperly and they're going to slow your entire computer down. But by using the emotion code system, we can go in and essentially debug, and it clears it up. And if you've ever had to like defrag your computer or something, and you realize that suddenly it's just like, oh, whatever those glitches were, now it's free flowing and it's working a lot faster. That's really how a good analogy for how the emotion code system can work for us.
Absolutely.
So, well, and so I'm seeing, Amber, that we are approaching 7:30 or 8:30 your time. And so, yes, I am Central Time and Amber is Eastern Time. And so I think it's time to thank everybody for having joined us tonight. And join us again next week. We'll be here.
Absolutely. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, on either of our pages. We will be, I think next week we're doing the knees. So if you've got, you know, knee pain, you know, we're looking for volunteers to, you know, do a session on, to clear that knee pain.
Yes, so do definitely come and join us. It's simple and easy. All you have to do is say, you know, type in the comments that yes, you've got some knee pain. You can tell us if it's both or right or left, and if it's a severity of 1 to 10. And you know, you're going to be up and dancing by the end of the session, hopefully.
That's our goal. Well, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.